Hey everybody, I'm back. Been a while since I've been here. Took 4 weeks off. I was gone for the entire month of July and then, pardon me, of June, and then the first week of July on a vacation in paradise. That would be a hour and a half that way on Little Marble Lake. Anyhow, today's video is going to be about. I'm going to keep this short. We're going to step back a little bit in time here to go right back to the beginning. Question is, did you volunteer to accept liability as and or for the person? And I'll let you make that determination. To start with here, I want to show you a couple cases, some courts. Screen share. This one here, this is a change of name case. I'll get into the specifics, but here you can see the case site, the information. If you want to find this, you can Google it. The other one here, this one here is actually part of our information package. This is the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario between XY versus Her Majesty the Queen of Right of Ontario, is represented by the Minister of Government Consumer Services, who that is the Registrar General of Ontario. So that's the expert with respect to registration of births in the Human Rights Commission. Now, this is just a decision part, and this was in 2012. Now we have the actual transcripts for Judy Hartman, the then Deputy Registrar General, and she was the national expert on vital statistics. She was the go-to lady. Her signature was on the birth certificate, blah, 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 blah. We met her in 2004. So it's her testimony. Now, you can't get that testimony because it was under a gag, not a gag order, but a publication ban. But we were able to overcome that by proving that none of that information we were seeking would disclose the identity of XY. That's why that information is not available. The full case, this is just the decision here, but the actual testimony of the Deputy Registrar General, if you want to obtain that, you're going to have to point out to the Freedom at the Privacy Commissioner people that that particular testimony is not disclosing the identity of who XY is here. So anyhow, we were able to overcome that. So we got the actual transcripts, about 203 pages from that. And then this is an older case, so like I say, change in name. This is just for people who aren't sure why, did you volunteer to accept the liability as or for the person? And this is food for you to think about here. So I'm just going to stop the screen share. Well, I can leave it. Yeah, I'll leave that up there. So I want to give you the key takeaway points from the two of these cases. First takeaway points are from this case here. And I can tell you when the reading the transcripts, the tribunal people that were hearing the testimony of the Deputy Registrar General Judith Hartman, they had no idea about this information either. You could tell by when they started quizzing her, well, you're suggesting a birth certificate. Well, I thought a birth certificate was this. Well, no, it's not that. So everyone's deceived. Everyone's in the dark about this whole birth certificate thing. So I just want to give you some of the, like I say, the key takeaways from. So the key takeaways from this case right here is this. It is not possible. Now, this is them saying, I'm just reading them verbatim here pretty much. But this is the gist of her testimony. The ORG, the Office of the Registrar General, is not in the business of providing identity documents. Is not in the business of providing identity documents. In her testimony under oath, she states it is not possible to determine whether the person presenting a birth certificate is the person named on the certificate merely by looking at that document. And the respondent points out that the birth certificate is not a form of personal identification in any event, in the sense that it cannot be presented to confirm the identity of the bearer. Cannot be presented to confirm the identity of the bearer, to confirm your identity. Key takeaway from this case here. It's a lot of good meat in both of these cases for understanding, but it comes down to these two points here. So this is a quote from this judge here in this case. I am of the opinion that the act, he's talking about the Change of Name Act, entitles or gives one the right to use or be known under his registered name, to be known under his registered, to use or be known under his registered name, but it is not mandatory that a person be recognized by the name appearing on the person's birth certificate. There's a couple of discrepancies here with the judge. First off, I dispute that the act, this is me speaking, I dispute that the act entitles or gives one the right to use or be known under or by his registered name of mom and dad. Certified true and correct, right? But I do agree that the act does give this Adam the right to choose to be recognized by the other Adam, the name on the birth certificate. Did you get that? In other words, but I do agree the Act does give one the right to choose to be recognized by the name appearing on the birth certificate. Now, it's not hard to deduce or conclude from this knowledge with the knowledge of the foregoing, that there are actually two Adams, two accounts with the same sounding name. Let me say that again. Gives one the right to use or be known by his registered name. That name is of your mom and dad, right? Certified true and correct. But I do agree, so I don't agree with that part of it, that the Act entitles me to be recognized by the name of my mom and dad, or gives me the right. So you can't be relying on any legislation here. Then you're going to fall under, if you're going to rely on their legislation, then you're under their legislation, their codes, their laws. But the Act does give one the right to choose to be recognized by the name appearing on the province's birth certificate. See, it's not your birth certificate. They say on the person's birth certificate. Well, maybe when they use person there, they mean province, but they don't say that. So to clarify here, when they say person's birth certificate, first, no, it's not my birth certificate. I didn't make it. I'm not the author. I don't own it. So no, it's the province's birth certificate. So I could say there's a couple discrepancies here. So when you think about this, okay, so the Act is giving someone with a name the right to be recognized by this name. And of course, basically telling you, you got your registered name, John Smith. Then you got the name John Smith appearing on the birth certificate. So the John Smith, the registered name guy, John Smith, has the right to choose to be, is authorized to choose to be the John Smith appearing on the birth certificate. Clearly, there's two John Smiths, two accounts here. Two accounts. Now the question becomes, did you volunteer? Because it says right here, as I read from this case here, I'll say it again. It is not possible to determine whether the person presenting a birth certificate is the person named on the certificate merely by looking at that document. The respondent, Her Majesty the Queen, further points out that the birth certificate is not a form of personal identification in any event, in the sense that it cannot be presented to confirm the identity of the bearer. Cannot be presented to confirm the identity of the bearer. Like, let me tell you this. Here's how you confirm the identity. Here's how I know it occurred. I'll speak for myself. The application for driver's license, it used to have on there where you put your signature. I certify, or keep in mind in order to apply for driver's license, when I applied, I had to present a birth certificate. They changed that a little bit now, but you still need the birth certificate, not for there, but to obtain these other identity documents in order to get apply for driver's license. So it always comes back to the birth certificate and knowing who you are and what that thing represents. Where was I here? Oh yeah. So so when you put your signature on the application for the driver's license, this is what it used to be. They changed that. See, when we point stuff out to them, they change it. We're kind of educating them. Anyway, where you put your signature, says, I certify I am the individual named above. An individual named above that name came off the birth certificate. So when you signed that, you said, I'm that person named on the birth certificate. Same with social insurance, SSN, passports, all of this other stuff. So although she testified here that these things cannot be used to confirm anything, as she states in this testimony that we have that's part of our package, the downstream users, so the Office of the Registrar General does not provide identity documents, but the Minister of Transportation will accept it as an identity document if you're willing to go in there, put that information on an application form and sign it, claiming to be the person named on the individual named above. So we did it. We confirmed the identity in absence of this knowledge. I can't even say that. So maybe some people would have done it anyhow. Who knows? I want to pause here for a moment, make sure I got I'm covering all the main points here. Give me a moment. Yeah. So So anyway, I'm back. Um, so that's the gist of it. So these are you guys said what I said. You heard it, right? You can play this again and again if you want to find these cases, this stuff. You can Google it. The information's here for you. I'm not going to send it to you. And again, this XY stuff, the full testimony is part of our information package. This is not, but I've shared it with all the people. And again, here it is. You can find it online. I think this came from the Supreme Court of Canada, I think. Could be a mistake. Hang on. Yeah, don't quote me on that. But anyhow, it's a Canadian situation. So and I'm just going to stop the screen share here. And again, I'm just going to pause to gather my thoughts. Yeah, so it's not possible to determine whether you are the person named on the birth certificate merely by looking at that birth certificate. In other words, they can't look at this and say, "Oh, that's you." Technically, legally, they need you to do something to say for you to say that's you. And you did that when you signed the form with a mere signature and acted the part. You got the bills in the mail, you got the income tax return, you put on there, I declared this is all my income, you declared this is all my goods, whatever. This is my house, my car, my TV, my furniture, but none of it's in your name. It's in the birth certificate name, but you acted the part. So we corroborated the information. We said, that's me. And they accept it. That's how it works. So you have to think these things through. And one last thing here, somewhat related, is keep in mind here that whoever owns it makes the law with respect to it. So speaking for province of Ontario, if the province is imposing its law on property you believe to be your property, then mine's got to be going just a second. They're applying their law to my property. They tell me this is my car, this is my house, this is my stuff, this is my money. But they're imposing their law on it. Well, if they're imposing their law on it, then they're claiming to be the owner. So that should be a red flag right in you immediately that either they're the owner or I'm the owner. We need to clear this up. And if I'm the owner, then I make the law with respect to the property. And the first law would be a province, stay off my property. I'm not saying which way it's going to go. I'm just saying if they're imposing their law on what you believe to be your property, then they're claiming to be the owner. That's how it works. I just can't believe people on the internet haven't caught on to that yet. All over the place. They have no clue. They all talking like it's their this and their that. Yet when the government raise the taxes, they pay the taxes. If you're paying the taxes, it's because it's not your property, but it's also not your liability because you're actually not the person named on the certificate or on any of those accounts out there. Documents, accounts, they're all accounts, right? Everything starts with the opening of an account, an account number. Although it may not say account number, but that's how it starts. Could be a file number, could be a registration number, but that's how it starts. Call up the phone company, you want to start an account. First thing I do is open up an account number. The account number may be your phone number, but that's how it starts. So anyhow, that's it. I hope that's short enough and to point and gives you folks something to think about. I think I'll keep the comments turned off on this one to make up my mind on that. If it's off, it's off. It just gets a lot of stuff I don't really want to deal with. Nonsensical and people, you need to think this through and don't just jump the gun thinking it because you heard what you heard here that's all there is. Think about it. Think about, okay, if I say this, how might they come back? Whatever, think it through. Love you. God bless. Later, God never fails, not possible. You're seeing the poop storm out there is getting a little heavier in some spots. Let's just call it the sinister force is on its final legs here and it knows it and it's in crybaby mode and poor us and doing all the dastardly stuff. But nonetheless, later, God never fails. Anyhow, till next time. Later. Sorry, I'm back. We're getting the side effects of Hurricane Beryl here right now. A lot of rain. I guess you should add in here if you understand what I just said here in this part of the video. This video, there's a lot of assumptions and presumptions here that's not that hard to overcome. It's a little wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove kind of approach. And keeping in mind here also that you do not own any property in the country and what you think you're in. Like Canadians don't own any property in Canada. I'm not saying people don't. I'm not making any of those determinations. I'll leave that with you. But in Canada, you don't own any property. In the United States, you don't own property. In Australia, you don't own any property. Not to say you can't bring it about that you do or control it, but just saying that's how it works. That's how it works. So I always hear all the politicians, they never talk about men or women or people. It's Canadians. United States citizens, Australians, all of which are fictional beings, right? So anyhow, just wanted to add that in there. So yeah, a lot of assumptions and assuming and presuming going on here. And think back to what I said about the birth certificate. How can I use that regardless of what I've done? Let me tell you something here. Last thing. A friend of mine, I haven't seen him for quite a while, but back in 2009, he got pulled over in a traffic stop, charged no license ownership, pardon me, no license or insurance. Well, so he wrote a letter to they charged him and he had a court date all set. So he wrote a letter to the Attorney General of Ontario and the Crown Prosecutor, the provincial prosecutor in that matter, pointing out that he didn't have a contract with them. Well, he showed up in court that date, and they walked up to him. The prosecutor walked up to him, and when he called the case and said, "Don't worry, Ken, we'll never bother you again." Why was that? He had never applied for a driver's license. Yet he was on disability because he got Hep C from blood transfusions. He had other stuff. He had a home. Again, he didn't own it, but he lived in a home paying rent. So he had all these other documents, but he didn't apply for a driver's license, so they couldn't apply the Highway Traffic Act to him. If you're not the person named on the birth certificate, maybe you're not the person named on the driver's license or on the SSN, but you also got to stop acting like you are. Like I said, there's assumptions and presumptions to overcome here. We can help you with that, or this video here, you can help yourself. I think I'm done. I'm pretty sure I'm done. Did you see my finger? Look at that. Pretty quick draw per draw. Yeah. Huh. Okay, that's it. God bless. Love you. Talk to you later. Ciao. Till next time. Keep smiling.